Welcome to another episode of the Nick and Jimmy Show. On today's episode, we have a gentleman that used to be my gym teacher back in the day in Sokratis, but now it's called Socrates-Démosthène, Mr. Chris Adamopoulos. He is the General Director of
École Socrates-Démosthène of the Hellenic community of Greater Montreal.
Beautiful. Welcome on the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I still don't believe how things changed. That I'm sitting down with my old gym teacher, right? 32 years later, well, roughly 30 years later, right? On the Nick and Jimmy Show. Welcome.
Well, it's a pleasure for me to be here. I'm honored that old students of ours, graduates, are into this business, and I'm very happy to be here and looking forward to this interview with you guys. And again, we're very proud. We see the success rate of our graduates as they've grown up through college, through university. Now they're married, they have their families. They come back to our school with their kids. And again, we're very proud of all of you.
Thank you very much. So talk to us. You used to be a gym teacher, right? At Sokratis, not Démosthène, because then you guys merged. We'll talk about that after. And now you're the director, right, of Socrates-Démosthène.
That's correct. I was a gym teacher for the Socrates campuses.
For how many years?
Since 1981, believe it or not. I graduated from McGill in the spring of '81 from phys ed, and
I remember the little sortsakia, right?
The little shorts, the high socks, and longer hair, and 50 pounds lighter. The good old days with good knees and everything. Gym teacher for about 27 years, and then in 2008 I was named general director of Sokratis back then. We hadn't merged yet with Démosthène. When the Hellenic community of Montreal merged with the Greek Orthodox community of Laval, we became the Hellenic community of Greater Montreal, and our school changed names, of course. It became Socrates-Démosthène School. And we've never looked back. We're very proud of those moments. It was an important merger. Uniting Greeks gives us power, and we're able to do things more and better in the process. And so I've been involved in the Greek schools and with the community for almost 40 years, since 1981.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And how did you go from 27 years of being a gym teacher to being now the director? How did that happen?
Well, when I was younger, I did want to be an administrator of our school. I studied and I did a graduate degree in educational administration at the University of Montreal. And I had mentioned it to my superiors back then that one day, if the opportunity ever arises, I'd be interested in applying for such a position. And it just happened back in 2008 that the general director at that time had left. And I was at the Panigiri actually on the Saint Roch, and I ran into the president back then, who was Bill Balabanus, another one of our students and father of students as well. And I asked Billy, Billy, did you guys find that we're starting school in a couple of weeks? Did you find the general director? And he said no. And I looked at me and he says, are you interested? I go, yeah, I could be. And the rest is history. And so I was hired in 2008. And I'm still in that position. And we've done a lot of great work. The school was always good, but we've taken it to a different level. And we conform at every level with the Ministry of Education. Our teachers are top notch. Sure, times are tough. Education in general, not just in our school, but in all schools in Quebec, are going through a difficult time. We have a lack of teachers. Teachers have lost a lot of their. The way they used to control classes before by yelling and screaming and this and that, all that has changed. We have to be more careful. I'm not sure about carreglas, but it's become tougher to manage a class.
Of course.
It's a tough career, and maybe that's one of the reasons why there's a huge dropout rate of teachers. They change careers, and not as many are going into the field as once upon a time. And plus, we have a population increase at the same time. So these are a little bit tough times. The new government, the CAC government here in Quebec, has made some changes. They're investing heavily in education. I think that we're on the right track, but it's going to take a few years before we get right back where we really should be. And changing society, changing times, changing mentalities. We're going through different motions at the current time. But in general, our school is doing very well, and we're very happy of the results, that we see. And the results here are in front of me,
Thank you. We appreciate that. Private, let's talk about private or public school, right? Do you think a parent should focus more on private high school versus private elementary, or both?
It's a good question, and it depends. There's no doubt that if parents can afford private education, in general, private schools are a little bit better in what they offer as compared to a public school. A public school caters to, it's a public school. It caters to everybody, to the masses. Yeah. And not that they don't do a good job in public schools, they do excellent work, and they're our colleagues, we work together very nicely with them. But a private school, sometimes a little bit more attention is given to children.
More discipline.
Discipline. They might have smaller classes. It's a little bit different environment. Not all schools select their clientele. Like us, we don't have an elite clientele. We accept anybody who wants to apply. There's no entrance exams, no nothing.
So they don't have to be only Greek to be in Sokratis?
Absolutely not. We're open to anybody in Quebec who wants to attend our schools, and we have a percentage of our school population that's completely non-Greek, none, zero.
And they learn Greek.
They learn Greek.
That's beautiful.
They learn beautiful Greek,
wow.
And without complaining about it. Because some of our Greek parents have this tendency of complaining the Greek program is too hard and it's too much this and too much homework. Whereas the non-Greek families, they learn the same program and they don't complain. It's a strange phenomenon that we have. But going back to your question, if we look across Quebec, there are more students in the high school level in private schools than there are in the elementary school level. Us, it's the opposite. We have a lot more in the elementary school level than we do in our high school, because the high school started just recently, the last 4 years.
Oh, it's true. You guys have high school now.
We do,
really?
Yeah. Our elementary school, yes. Our elementary school has been in existence for 110 years. So our high school is just 4 years. So we have a small group of children in our students in our high school, but elementary school is big. And we're hoping one of the reasons why we created the high school was to have a continuing education possibility in our community environment for our students, but also because if we look at the trends across Quebec, there are more students at the high school level in a private school than there are in an elementary school. Why? Because high school level is more delicate. It's more, more things can go wrong, friends and, and this and that. So a lot of the parents entrust a private high school for their children's education rather than a public school. But both schools are good, and
depends location, depends where. Right?
That's correct, and what your needs are, and sometimes private schools cater to a specific program or specific have a specific educational focus. Like our school is a trilingual school.
Well, what's the biggest percentage? French, English?
Well, we're French. We're recognized as a French private school, so we teach the entire French program, but we also teach enriched English, not just second language English, like in other French schools. It's enriched, almost like language arts, almost like an English school. And we have an enriched Greek program, that anybody can enter. We're able to adapt our program for children that don't speak any Greek at all. They learn it, and for those that are more advanced, they're able to advance more. So our teachers have well trained. They're very talented. They produce miracle after miracle, and so both schools are good. Whether you want to go private, whether you want to go to public, they're both good. The only recommendation I would tell parents is push the French program. If you're going to stay here in Quebec, if you're going to remain here in Quebec,
totally agree,
and you want your children to succeed,
100%.
they have to know very, very good French.
Absolutely.
You know, this French immersion.
It's ignorance.
It's not enough. You know, I mean, my generation, we were forced back then to enter the Protestant School Board of Greater Montreal. We learned very little French. We went to high school, very little French. We went to English CCEP. We went to English University. And then when we graduated in the 80s, we were told, well, if you want a good job, you have to work in French. But how? How can we work in French if we didn't grow up in a French environment?
So a lot of people went to Toronto, Ontario.
They left, you know, and we adapted. A lot of us adapted. But if we really wanted to get ahead, if you really want to get ahead in Quebec society, and you can get ahead,
you need to communicate.
You have to know excellent French. So my recommendation to all parents is register in a French school, whether it's our school, because we're a French school, or in any other school. You can't go wrong. Now, if your intention is to go to the States in a few years or go to Ontario, different story. But the beauty of our school is that you can continue your studies here in Quebec in French and get a good job. If a family decides to leave to go to the States or go out anywhere else across Canada, because our English is so strong, children integrate very easily in English school. If our parents decide to go to France, no problem. England, no problem. If they want to go back to Greece, some families go back to Greece. Our kids can enter a Greek school, no problem. So you see, pretty much anywhere you go in the world, the education that we're able to give in our school allows for our children to integrate internationally.
Beautiful.
Pretty much anywhere. You know, we take these things for granted, but we shouldn't. You know, and we pick on little things. You know, like the bus doesn't come to my door, or the washroom is not state of the art. We should focus on the big picture and what the school really does.
People will always complain, no matter what.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, you know. And, you know, in some ways, complaints are okay because it keeps us on our toes, you know. But let's focus on the big picture, and somehow we take the big picture for granted, you know. And we shouldn't do that, you know. You know, here in Quebec, we have the greatest Greek educational system on the planet.
Better than Toronto too?
By far. By far. If you walk into any one of our classrooms, and I invite you to do so, and speak to any child in any level, you'll be amazed at the Greek that they speak. And the fact that it's part of them. Being Greek it's in them, you know, like it was with you guys. Why is that? Why is Quebec different from the other provinces? Because we start Greek education from 18 months. We have our own daycares where children are exposed to Greek from 18 months. If they continue in these daycares and they enter the primary school, like Socrates-Démosthène, they'll get their Greek program. Now we have the high school. The missing link was the high school. Now we offer trilingual high school with Greek. You have CEGEPs that offer Greek studies, like Dawson has Greek studies. Universities have Greek studies. McGill has a huge Greek studies program.
Will you ever eventually branch out to college as well?
Well, we do some collaborative work with, for example, with McGill Greek Studies. We've done some collaboration on different projects. So, children in Quebec, from 18 months right through to their university years, will be exposed, will have access to a Greek program. Find that anywhere else on this planet outside of mainland Greece, you won't be able to find that. And so we have the most amazing environment here in Quebec to develop and provide families this opportunity for their children to maintain that Greek language and the Greek culture, the heritage. Yes, very important.
I have a two-part question for you. Are teachers in private schools paid more than public schools? And also, do you find, in your opinion, after 40 years of being in the system, teachers are underpaid?
It depends. Some private schools, like us, we follow the same salary scales as a public school system.
Okay.
So whatever a teacher gets paid, depending on the teacher's scholarity and experience, and it goes up every year, we're exactly the same. Some private schools pay less, some private schools pay less, and some private schools pay more. So it varies in the private school. But our school, we follow the salary scales of the public system. And every time their scales change, our scales change. It's like automatic. Your second question was, do I find that teachers get paid enough? Once upon a time, I thought that the salary for a teacher was fair. But because teaching has become such a difficult career, it's such a difficult task, the teachers' hands are tied in so many different ways. And we see so many of them going out on burnout, changing careers, not entering this field anymore. The government has realized that in order to recruit teachers to be able, to study and become a teacher, they'll have to increase the salary scales. So currently, I would say, teachers are probably underpaid for what they do. All right. Now, everybody says, "Well, teachers have all this vacation time." It's not true. Teachers have just as much vacation time, if not less, than public workers. Public workers have about the same time. Anybody working for the city of Montreal, the Quebec government, or federal government, same amount of vacation time. The only difference is that teachers, it's kind of regrouped in the summer because of the school year. So it's not true that teachers have all kinds of benefits. The teaching profession is a very tough one, and a lot of demands, because parents, once upon a time when you guys were in school, your parents were really involved, like they trusted the teacher. The teacher was God, I remember my first parent-teacher interview. It was in the fall of 1981, November. Father comes to see me, and he says, "How's my son doing?" Give me the name. I look on my list. I go, "He's doing very good. He's a good boy. He's working hard in the gym. He's serious and behaves well. He's clean. He's got his uniform." He says, "Listen," he says to me, "Listen to me." He says to me, "If he gives you a hard time, I give you the right to do whatever you have to do to make sure that he behaves. And you call me at home, and I'm going to take care of him." So I go back to the teacher's room, and I just graduated from McGill. And I go, "Man, these first-generation parents are really something." Boy, was I wrong. These first-generation parents knew exactly what it took to raise a child properly.
Yeah.
These parents had it right. School was, and the teacher was God back then, and it's not the same anymore. Parents are working a lot of hours. They don't have enough time to dedicate to their children. Kids are dropped off at 7 in the morning in the service de garde. They stayed till 6 o'clock. They pick them up at 6 o'clock. It's a long day for the kids without their parents. They expect the school to do everything for them, and including raising their children, pretty much, and it's everybody's fault but the family, and we do as much as we can as a school. We understand today's families, they have a lot of pressure, they work very hard, it's a very competitive society, children have a lot of demands, but, we have to find a balance. We've gone too far the other way, maybe not as strict as what our parents were once upon a time, but we've come a little bit too far. So we have to find that balance again, somewhere in the middle, where the parents are also involved and they trust the teacher and they trust the school environment. And we're not God in the school, we do the best we can, we're not, and like I said, we produce a lot of miracles, but we're not perfect in what we do, and not every child can learn. Some children take more time, they need special assistance. We have to realize that, not everybody can succeed at the same level, so it's a tough environment, but I do think that currently, in order to keep teachers in the teaching profession, that maybe, and the government sees this as well, they should be paid a little bit more.
Absolutely, and what they do is very important. I mean, they're in charge of the kids' lives.
Pretty much, pretty much. It's a long day, and we take it personally, right, as teachers?
Absolutely.
At least in our school, we take it personally. Every child that comes into our school is our child. We wouldn't treat another parent's child differently than we would treat our own child. Exactly the same way. We care. It's frustrating sometimes with 30 kids in the classroom. You might lose a little bit of control. You might say something you shouldn't say. You might be a little bit abrupt. But hey, if you have 30 kids on your case all day long and you have that pressure that they have to succeed, it's not always easy. They're human beings as well. But we realize our mistakes. We make mistakes. We realize the important thing is not to repeat them. All in all, I think teachers do a good job.
I love your passion. I love You know, the feedback for sure. A quick question regarding Greece, right? Do you think it's important for a parent to go with their kids to Greece on a yearly basis if they could afford it?
I think it's great if the parents can afford it, that they visit
with a
Greece,
euro. It's not like drachmas back in the day.
with their children, so that their children can see firsthand what their books and their teachers have been preaching for years.
Exactly.
All right. Now we didn't have this back then, but our grade 6 class, our graduating class in June, right after the graduation, like the last week of school,
You go to Greece.
we go to Greece. We've organized now a trip. It's been like, I think, 7 or 8 years we've been doing this in collaboration with the Ministry of Education of Greece.
Paid by the school?
Our parents pay everything.
Okay.
Our parents pay their expenses for their children. We provide a couple of teachers, or a principal and a teacher, or depending how many kids we have, you know, and we accompany them, working with colleagues from Greece. And it's the most amazing, amazing trip these children have ever experienced. And it's the perfect age, right? It's just before high school when they get, when they, you know, they want to be, they know everything, and they're just the right age, you know. And I know, like I said, we've been doing this now for 7 or 8 years, and the children have gone to these trips. Now they're older. They still talk about it. They haven't forgotten that experience. You know, it's a magical trip, non-stop. You know, and from ruins to castles to
the food,
to
the women,
to the beaches, to boating, to ancient Olympia, and to running across the stadium and putting on. Quran, you know, with an olive branch around their heads when they finish their races. And it's just an amazing trip, you know, and very tiring for the educators that accompany the kids.
For sure.
They don't sleep very much that week, but it's a great trip. So I think, yes, it's important for anybody to go to Greece. I mean, Greece, as far as I'm concerned, is the cradle of civilization. Democracy, culture, doctrine, medicine, you name it. We created it,
and everybody wants a piece of the pie.
And everybody, and that's why everyone is after Greece, because they want a piece of the pie. Not to mention, we have the most perfect weather anywhere on the planet.
The beaches
and beaches everywhere. You know, you're never more than an hour away from water in Greece, and that philotimo that we have is forever evident in Greece.
For the people that don't know what's philotimo, if you could explain.
Philotimo is like a welcoming. Caring,
going the extra mile to accommodate.
Exactly. And no matter what issues they're having in Greece, they still have that philotimo, you know, and they live well in Greece, despite their complaining, and, you know, they've cut their pensions, and jobs are hard to find and all that, but they still enjoy life much better, I think, than what we do here. Maybe they have less, but they do more with less. As compared to us, you know, maybe they don't have the luxuries we have here and all this and that, but they're all having a good time. And you know, and it's warm, you go to the beach. You know, it's warm at night, you go to the local taverna or local restaurant, and you pass your night there until the wee hours of the morning. Funny story, we were in Greece actually this summer with my wife, and we contacted some parents from our schools that we're friends with, and we said, let's get together, and we said, let's get together for supper. We figured, okay, not too early because we eat late in Greece. We said 7 o'clock for supper, and family calls us back and says, 7 o'clock? She says, no, we get up at 12:30, we have breakfast at 2, we eat lunch at 6, and we go after 11 for supper. I said, well, maybe we're a little bit too old for this kind of a lifestyle, but, you know, people enjoy life in Greece, you know, and I couldn't think of a better place for people to vacation and also to discover at the same time, you know, and people should take the time to discover from beautiful Athens and everything that the Acropolis and the museums and all the other ruins around Athens have to offer. And you go to Delphi, you go to Olympia, you go pretty much anywhere. You go down to Monovasia, you go to Crete, and you go to Knossos, and you go further north to Thessaloniki, and there's always something to see and experience in Greece, you know, and you can't go wrong from all these beautiful islands that we have. And
where else have you been all around the world?
I'm not a good traveler, right? I don't like traveling too much. If I can compare, we spent some time in California, some of the nicest areas in California, and we didn't enjoy them as much, far from it, as we did in Greece.
Of course.
Went to Hawaii last summer. We spent a fortune in Hawaii. The nicest hotels and the nicest beaches.
It's still not Greece.
And still not Greece, overcast, humid, overcrowded tourists, extremely expensive. And you're saying, what for? Why go through all this when you have it at our doorstep? You're a flight away. You can get great, if you don't have your own place, you can get the Airbnb for less than 100 euros a night with beautiful pools just off the beach. You walk down to the beach and the food is not expensive and you eat well. I mean, in Greece, most of these restaurants, they have their own chickens and gardens. And
organic.
You can't go wrong, And we think, we go to a nice expensive restaurant here in Quebec, in Montreal, we think we eat well, but we have no idea what it is to eat well until you go down there,
How can we add more value in the Greek community?
By getting involved. The Greek community needs bright, young minds with fresh ideas. And we find that today's youth doesn't have that stamina.
The drive.
The drive. They might have the initial drive, but they don't. The stamina. They don't. They'll you hit a wall.
Yeah, they don't have the hunger.
Difficulty is in front of you, and negativity in front of you, and do I need this? And they get up and go.
They quit as you.
Yeah, and that's why there's still a lot of the older generation is still involved in the Greek community. Maybe they have more time, maybe they have more stamina, maybe they have nothing else better to do, and they like contributing, they like volunteering. And it's not that today's youth doesn't want to volunteer, but they don't have the patience to tough it out. So yes, we need bright minds like you guys to get involved in community politics, because community politics also affects our school. Decisions that are made at the political level, at a General Assembly level, even if it's not for the school, the decision, it could have indirect impact on the school environment, So we need young people like you to get onto the board, come to General Assemblies,
2021,
participate in different committees, and there's a lot of different committees. There's a lot to do. We've done amazing work in the last, the Greek community has been around for 112 years, the school 110 years. Amazing work in a century. We've come a long way. But there's still a lot to do. We still need to put order in a lot of the things that we do. We realize we're not perfect. We make mistakes. But we need help. We need help. When you look into a file, like we're looking into the membership file. How do we increase membership? How do we, that $50 membership, how do we increase that? $50 is nothing, but people don't want to register to become a member. So just to analyze that and to go back and to see what's been going on and to propose things and to try to move things forward, it's a huge file, this. And you need time. And time is always the issue, and so we're always looking for fresh ideas and new blood and additional help and people that care. And we're convinced that there's a lot of young people like your age out there that care. We're convinced. They come to our school with their kids because they care. They want to see their kids succeed in our school. But they're busy. They don't want to get involved with the politics. They don't want to ruin their names. They don't want to give too much time because then their businesses are going to go down if they're into businesses. And but we have to tough it out. We have to tough it out and change things. If we don't like the way a General Assembly works in accordance with the bylaws in the community. We have to change the bylaws. But you need numbers. You have to come and vote, and the majority have to vote that we want the bylaws changed, and we propose these amendments. People have to come out. And we always say it's somebody else. There is nobody else. We're the community. It's us. It's you, it's your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your children one day. We're the community. It's not some building. It's not some entity. We're the Greek community. The Greek community is about membership, about members.
The church, or the land, Ayatriad, I think.
That
was sold recently?
It wasn't sold.
It wasn't sold finally.
But there was a proposition to sell it.
10 million or something?
We had an offer for $10 million by the people that built the hotel there.
That's where I was baptized, actually.
Yeah, a lot of us were. My parents, I was baptized there as well. My parents got married in that church. Almost everybody, the first generation Greek, passed through there. We had an offer. We thought, the administration thought, and a lot of us in the community thought it was a good idea to sell. Unfortunately, the parikia, the community at large, thought differently. Maybe the idea wasn't presented the way it should have been. Maybe some people don't want to change. And we've come to see this, that in order for the community to survive, now I'm talking about the Hellenic community of Greater Montreal. We're talking about the schools, talking about the churches, talking about social services, talking about our apartment buildings, talking about whatever assets we have, and we have a lot. We have to evolve. We can't continue operating
in the same comfort zone.
Exactly, because there's no more comfort zone.
Yeah.
We've come to the point that the comfort zone is gone.
Yeah.
We have way too much real estate, way too many assets, and we have no cash flow. We can't maintain our assets. And if you can't maintain your assets and you can't provide services to your people, the proper services, then why are you existing? To say we have all this real estate?
But you're in the negative.
Yeah. I mean, look at the school. We have children that have learning difficulties. These children need special help. And if we don't provide that special help, we don't retain these children. They go into another school that provides it. Very often in the public school, because the public school is funded more than we are, and they're able to provide that help. So we lose children to the public system because we can't afford to provide help to our children, you know? So is it more important to hold on to buildings or to land that we don't use than to provide services to our people? Our seniors need services. We have a lot of people in distress. They need services. We have way too much real estate. Do we need all these schools? Once upon a time, we used to go to the people. There was families in the West Island, there was families in the South Shore, there was families in Laval, there was families in Saint Laurent. We'd go to them. When you're funded at 100% by the government, like we were once upon a time, it's easy to do that. You're funded, the revenue is coming in. But when we became private, we were forced to become private, like all the other private schools, and they cut our grants by 50%. Things changed. We had to increase fees, triple and quadruple the fees. Bus service was free. Now we're charging. The parents are up to here, So we don't have as many clients as we did once upon a time. So we have buildings, school buildings, that are way below capacity, way below. Do we need all these buildings? Why can't we regroup some of our buildings, and make one big building? This is what the recommendations of the Ministry of Education was, to regroup some of our buildings. Do we need all these churches? Did we really have to go and build a second church right next to the other church? And I'm talking about Kimisis in Park Extension, when it caught fire. Did we really need a second church 2 blocks away? And there's also 3 other churches in the same area. So, these are questions that we ask ourselves, now that things have become very tight. And it's not a secret, the community is struggling financially. We're barely making ends meet. We have a $7 million debt that we need to get rid of. And that was the reason why we proposed selling a piece of land with a hotel on it. There's no more church on that land, Yeah. The owners,
Sherbrooke and Saint Laurent. Right?
Yeah, between Sherbrooke and Saint Laurent, the old Holy Trinity
Correct, yeah.
property. And the Godin building that's there, which was the original community's, the offices of the original community. Mm-hmm. To the owners of the hotel, they have an interest in buying the land, and probably more than anybody else. We felt back then, a year ago or so, when we had the offer in front of us, that it was a good deal. It was a good deal for us. and we will be able to wipe out our debt
We have 3 million.
and have $3 million in our pockets that we can reinvest into our programs, into new projects.
I think we were speaking to Papa Dimitrio. He came here the other time, and he was mad that it didn't go through. Also, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
I think.
we're upset that it didn't go through. Those of us who live the difficulties day in and day out, and I've been living them for 40 years, and we see the great work that's been done by the community, by all the volunteers, by our parent committees, by the employees. But it's come to a point that things have to change, and we have this issue that we like to hold on to everything. Like me as a general director.
Hoarders.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see one of my campuses close. I wouldn't want to see that. I wouldn't be proud to amalgamize two campuses together. It wouldn't be a proud moment for me. But
It must be.
out of necessity,
Yeah.
we got to do what we got to do
And for the better of the cause too.
for the long term, for your children's children.
Which one's the hanging fruit so far out of all the schools?
What do you mean?
Hanging fruit,
Like which one would you consider merging?
Well, look, I've always considered
South Shore, Laval, West Island.
I've always considered I've believed last few years as in management position that we should be operating regional school. A regional school. There should be one massive school in Laval instead of 3 buildings. 3 principals, 3 secretaries. We have 3 buildings right now.
In Laval?
Saint-Martin.
We have Saint-Martin,
Near
we have
Notre Dame.
Emerson,
Correct.
and we have Pizzis near the arena.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, so we have 3 buildings. So we're talking about 3 administrators.
All elementary?
All elementary.
Wow.
3 secretaries, 3 janitors, 3 roofs, 3 boilers, 3 schoolyards. It's a lot of expense. The ministry, as soon as all within a few miles of each other, as soon as the ministry saw this, they, hey, merge them into one.
Yeah,
So we've been trying to do this now for the last 5-6 years. South Shore, a lot of people say, well, the South Shore loses money, this and that. But the South Shore has 1 building, 1 school, 1 church. And if you ever go down there, if you have this opportunity to go down there when they celebrate Saint Jean Baptiste, their festival, and you see all these Greeks that get together to celebrate. All Greeks.
It's a growing community, Greek community.
It's a growing, but it's very spread out,
Yeah.
which makes it difficult for them, for example, to bring their kids to the school because it's really spread out as a community. But that's the only place that they have to regroup. Mm-hmm. You get rid of that daycare, you get rid of the day school, you get rid of the Saturday school and the church, then you have no Greek community in the South Shore. And we have several thousand Greeks living in the South Shore. Very dynamic community. They work extremely hard. Our most dedicated, we have great volunteers, but you can see our South Shore people, they volunteer up in Laval, they volunteer in Montreal, they go beyond the South Shore. They're doing everything possible to maintain their building, helping everywhere else. And in Montreal, we have several school buildings. We have a Roxborough, we have one on Walderton.
Hood.
And we have a Hood that's not being used as a school anymore.
Okay.
But Hood is a very central location, very key, very key.
That was my first one.
Your first school. That's where I started teaching as well in '81. And we have to look maybe at merging our schools on the island of Montreal. So 1 school in Laval, 1 regional school in Montreal, and a little smaller satellite school in the South Shore. We get the North Shore all the way down to the South Shore in 3 buildings. Then we're laughing. We're laughing. The school will be financially self-sufficient. We'll be able to provide
Greater education, greater needs for special needs.
Special needs, updated facilities and everything that's required. And we have a master plan. I'm not at liberty to discuss the master plan at this moment. It'll be presented to the new board because we had elections in June. We have a master plan that will be presented, how we can make the community as a whole, not just the school, more viable. And we see where it goes. But the Parikia has to understand that we can't continue doing business the way we've been doing it for 112 or so odd years. It doesn't work anymore.
Things need to change.
It has to change. And unfortunately, it's very difficult to get people to change. And I would think that if more of our parents got involved, more of our younger people who evolve a lot easier, you don't like something, you go on to the next thing. In today's society, I call it the instant society, There's no real what's the word? Loyalty is not what it used to be. You're not happy about somebody or something, you move on to the next thing. And we see that with our parents. So our parents and our youth should get involved. And if they see a better picture out there, they should voice their opinion on how we can change things and make them better for the community. Because it's your children's and your children's children's future at stake here.
Let's talk about the 2021 parade that we were talking about earlier.
Look, our community, Greece will and Greeks will be celebrating 200 years of independence in 2021. We should do something with this on this occasion. We shouldn't just say, okay, great, we're celebrating 200 years, let's move on. No, we have to do something to
make noise.
200 years. That we've been around since our independence, people should know about it. And as Greeks, we've done a lot. We've contributed a lot to this world, to society, and we should talk about that. Let's do something more here in Quebec. Can we organize special activities in 2021? Can we bring our parade to the next level? Can we bring it downtown on St. Catherine or some other street downtown? Can we get other communities to join us in our celebration? Can we get Greek businesses to participate in making our parade colorful with floats? I don't know if you've ever been to the New York parade in Cospé de Dimitrio.
No, but it's not online. It looks.
Yeah, they have maybe 200 floats. Yeah. 200 floats for one community. But it's a bigger community, but they're better organized than us. The churches are involved with their floats. Every soccer team has their floats. Every school has their floats.
Like 1 million Greeks.
Every silo has their floats. I mean, we could do more. We can do more. We're a strong community here in Quebec. We have a lot of.
How many in Montreal?
Pardon me?
How many in Montreal?
Estimates are somewhere between 70 and 80,000 Greater Montreal. But we can do something better. So we need to get involved. Maybe people like yourselves and your friends and your contacts can participate in a special committee that we'll be looking to put together to put a richer, more colorful parade and show people here in Quebec who Greeks really are. We reached our plateau on Jean Talon. It's nice to go to Jean Talon every year. Reminds us of our past. We put on a nice parade. Trudeau comes and a whole bunch of other politicians and every prime minister shows up at our parade. But it's time to go maybe do something different. But we have to start that process now. We can't do this a month before, And we're also thinking maybe of sending a delegation from our school down to Greece for their 200th. Angelopoulos Daskalaki, who organized the Olympics for Greece, 2004 Olympics, they've mandated her to organize their festivities. And knowing her well, she's going to do a fantastic job. She has the talent and the capability and the contacts to do a fantastic job for Greece. We should get involved and also show our colors in Greece. Tell them who we are here from Montreal. Our schools, we've done incredible work here. We should be participating in the Greek festivities in Greece, and we should do our own here. There's lots to do. Should we finally name a section of town Greek town? Should we have a street named after? Absolutely. For Greece. I mean, it's about time, don't you think? The Italians are much more established. The Chinese have, forever.
Portuguese.
Yeah, and us, you look at our friends from our Muslim friends out in Saint Michel. They're already calling it the Petit Maghreb around the Saint Michel area. I mean, we've been here a long time, and we have nothing to show for it. Okay, we moved to Laval, we moved elsewhere, we moved to the West Island, but there should still be something that reminds us, that tells people, hey, once upon a time Greeks used to live here.
Toronto, Danforth.
Like Danforth. Yeah. A perfect example. And maybe we should do something about our festival as well. Our festival has also reached a plateau, trying to find volunteers and this and that. It's great, people have a great time, but we need to take it to the next level. You go to another festival like the Italian festival in Little Italy, you have like 60 kiosks. You do the Lebanese festival along the 15. You see all those tents that they have. Maybe it's time for us to do something better with our festivals, to do something more, to attract people from not just Greeks, and sell our products to them and our, like the other community, I mean, these are things that I think younger people need to. We're there. We can guide you along, because we have some experience. But younger people, business people, the Board of Trade, need to get involved and to do something and take Greeks to a higher level, because we're capable of going to a higher level. We can do anything, but we need people dedicated to do it.
That's not, if Greeks were to stick together.
Our biggest problem, we don't stick together.
Yeah.
It's our biggest
especially
problem.
in the business world, like if only Greeks can like support each other more, you know?
Yeah, if there's one disappointment in my 40 years I've come to discover, is that as Greeks we don't seem to be able to support one another.
It's more Zelia than anything else. I don't know why.
You know, and it's unfortunate, you know. I think if we were able to support, we would be a better community, you know. And it's one of the things. Maybe we'll get over this, you know. Hopefully one day, you know. But I think we need to. That's one of the things that our community needs to focus on, you know. And rather than try to beat each other up, and
exactly
support. How can we support each other? Make work
collaborate
together,
as opposed
collaborate
to beat each
more.
other, you know?
Very difficult.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to follow you on social media, how can they follow you?
Well, I'm on Facebook, Chris Adamopoulos, and I can give you all. Also, I suggest that people view our website for the school. Very important. Today's parents don't necessarily like to attending open houses. They like to see things on the net. Socdem.org is our website.
Which?
Socdem.org.
Socrates-Démosthène.org.
SOCDEM.org.
Okay.
ORG. And
you have Instagram too, I think.
Everywhere. You can find me anywhere, you know. And Chris Adamopoulos, you'll find me, you know.
Perfect.